Hello, I'm Regina Botras, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy, and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. I'm joined by Giuseppina Grech, who is playing Carlotta in The Phantom of the Opera, Opera Australia's latest Handa Opera. Giuseppina has been in this role several times, but she has sung for Queen of the Night for Opera Australia in 2024. She studied at La Scala in Italy. Wow. She's performed internationally as well as nationally, and she's released an album in 2019, her debut album, Love Is My Reason, and she's here to talk about this production. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Regina. I'm so excited to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you. So this, let's jump into The Phantom of the Opera. For anyone who doesn't know it, set the scene.
Yeah, so the Phantom of the Opera has been written by Andrew Lloyd Webber. This year in particular is a very special year because it actually is the 40th anniversary of this production. So to actually be performing this not in a normal setting inside a theatre, we're doing this whole spectacular production on a floating stage overlooking one of the most iconic buildings in the world, the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Honestly, it really is a pinch me moment and such a special celebration for their 40th anniversary for Phantom of the Opera. So essentially the production revolves around the Paris Opera House in which the Phantom likes to haunt. So my character, Carlotta Giudicelli, she is the Italian prima donna, the diva of this specific opera house. And essentially the Phantom is over her being the prima donna and wants Christine Daae to take over my role here as the principal artist of the opera house. Christine Daae is a ballet girl and she's getting lessons by the Phantom, and essentially Christine had a beautiful relationship with her father, who unfortunately passed, and when he did pass, he said, "I will always be with you. I will be your angel of music." And essentially the Phantom hears this, and so he kind of manipulates Christine to pretend that he is her spirit, the father's spirit. So, she's super innocent and she, gets lessons with this sound of thinking it's her father. And essentially the Phantom is a cruel man that pretty much haunts everybody who's at the opera house. So yeah, it's the story of that and Christine finding the love of her life, her childhood lover, Raoul. So yeah, it's a story about Christine and Phantom and all of the things that happen at the Paris Opera House.
And it was originally written in 1910 from a book. So your role as Carlotta, you've mentioned she's a prima donna. Does she carry that status with her?
Absolutely.
What kind of character is she?
Yeah, so she is the ultimate opera diva, in the nicest sense possible. She is an opera diva. She comes from a bel canto technique, which is a very Italian old school operatic technique. And so, yeah, she's a larger than life character and is really hard done by, I think, by the Phantom, because she's like, I've spent my whole life and my whole career, giving my gift to beautiful audience members, and why are you trying to replace me, essentially?
And how does she react to that?
Well, so she, because being Italian, she does have tantrums. She has these outbursts of being outraged that, how come she's now having to sing the silent part, or how come her role is so minute and minuscule in comparison to Christine, who's a ballerina. She's not even an opera singer. How does this happen? How is this happening to me? So yeah, she does have tantrums on stage, but to be fair, she is almost killed by the Phantom several times. So, she's terrified. She does put her life on the line for the audience.
And you're playing an opera singer, playing an opera singer. How fantastic! Written for you.
Yep,
um,
literally.
and you've studied Italian, which is just terrific. How now you've played this before inside an opera on an inside and on a stage. How have you had to adjust to this outdoor environment?
Yeah, Regina, it's completely different. You know, the interpretation of the character as well is very different. Um, so, you know, given that we are performing outside, I mean, to put it into context, this stage is so large that we weren't actually able to rehearse in a normal rehearsal room studio because the stage is so large, you know, the floating stage. So we actually had to rehearse at the Sydney Olympic Park in order to get the size and the staging right so we can perform it here at the Mrs. McCrory's Fleet. So essentially, this version of Carlotta is even bigger than what it is in the inside version. She is way more extravagant. You know, the moves are more extravagant. You know, we're having to also deal with different elements, you know, not only performing outside in, you know, rain, hail, or shine. You know, we're also having to sing with in ears. So we're hearing the orchestra. So obviously, normally we would hear in a normal theatre, you would hear the orchestra just acoustically. Whereas because we're outside, it's very difficult to hear anybody on stage or the orchestra in itself. So we've got these in ears. Essentially, we've got one ear you'll hear the orchestra, and the other ear you'll hear yourself and all of the other characters on stage that are singing. So, you know, practicing with that is very, very different, very different. But it's amazing. It's incredible, really. I mean, we've got such an amazing sound crew here who's looking after us, as well as, you know, the lighting as well. You got to think everything you physically see on stage has been built from scratch. All of the rigging of the lights, you have to think of all of the sound, all of the speakers, even the chairs, the seats that the audience members are sitting on. We put this all up. Opera Australia puts it all up. So, you know, there's a lot of elements behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. You know, that's, you know, so very different to an inside theatre production for sure.
And it must be quite disconcerting. I was thinking as you were talking about being a singer and being in a space, and every space is different, obviously, but I imagine part of it is you sing and there's the reverb. It hits the back of the wall or the space. So singing with these earpieces must be a very different
Oh,
thing.
it's completely different for sure. Because, you know, acoustically, you know, being an opera singer, normally I'm not mic'd at all. You're singing, you're projecting over an orchestra, completely raw voice. So, and then you're listening for the acoustics to hear, you know, the sound back. Whereas outside, you can't rely on that because it's dead air, essentially. You sing a note, and it stops straight away. So yeah, so getting used to the in-ears has been an adjustment, but it's been a cool thing to kind of experience, to be honest. A new skill set, I say.
So tell me about your experience studying at La Scala. What was the kind of, it must have been such a trip to do.
Yeah.
What kind of skills did they add or give to you for you as a performer?
Yeah, so essentially, I got a scholarship in Australia through the Italian Opera Foundation, which then allowed me to study in Milan at the Accademia alla Scala, which is the school associated with La Scala in Milan. And honestly, how old was I at the time? I was 22, 23 years old at the time. First time being overseas, first time leaving the nest, you know, being a good Italian girl, you know, you stay at home until you get married. So yeah, it definitely opened my eyes. And I think, you know, being really immersed in in the world of opera and classical music, it is so ingrained in the Italian culture. You know, you're just walking on the street and you hear classical music all day long. So really being immersed in it every day and, you know, perfecting the language as well. I mean, I'm lucky I come from an Italian background, given my name, Giuseppina. I mean, it doesn't get any more Italian than that, the female version of your Giuseppe. So being really immersed in the Italian culture and learning from some of the world's most renowned artists at La Scala was honestly it was a pivotal moment in my career, really, that really made me want to pursue this, and, you know, yeah, give my life to the arts. So it really was, a pivotal moment in my career that I'm very fortunate to have had.
How fantastic and how romantic
Yeah,
sounding an
so
experience.
so romantic. Would have been nice if I had met an Italian man that swept me off my feet whilst I was there too.
Well, I was going to ask, but I wasn't going to ask. I was tempted. And so you grew up speaking Italian with your family?
Yeah. So my Italian's it's from Puglia. So my mum's side's from Puglia, and yes, I grew up speaking Italian, but you know, obviously it's a dialect of Italian. So you know, going to Milan, they speak, you know, pure proper Italian. So that took me a couple of weeks to kind of get my head around. You know, obviously all of the classes were purely in Italian. You'd go into your lecture lecture theatre rooms and everything was in Italian. So I mean, it was great. You're chucked into the deep end, but you know what better way? I think that's the easiest way to kind of really immerse yourself in it. So yeah, grew up speaking Italian. But I think, you know, having the name Giuseppina as well, I got bullied a lot when I was young. So yeah, to be completely honest with you, I went by the name of Josephine for many years until I was in my mid-20s. After I actually came back from Milan, after I came back singing in Europe, when I established myself back in Sydney, because I'm originally from Melbourne, when I established myself in Sydney, I was like, you know what? It's a fresh start. I'm going to make sure that people actually call me my real name, Giuseppina, you know, and I think it's so fitting being an opera singer, having the Italian name and also having that Italian heritage. And I'm very blessed to be named after my nonna, who was named Giuseppina. So I think it's important to hold on to that tradition and to really own where you come from as well. It's very important.
Absolutely, embracing that. And it sounds like a rite of passage in a way, that whole overseas experience. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Regina. And I look forward to singing Prima Donna once more.
Bravo, bravo. Giuseppina Grech there. Oh, the prima donna of the Phantom of the Opera, playing Carlotta. Chandelier and all, no doubt.